Good evening, everyone. Let's start off with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. We're going to hold off on the public hearing. Our town attorney is running late, so I'm going to wait until she gets here for us to do that. So let's see. I'm going to start with the presentations for Patterns for Progress. Anne, do you want to?
Sure, I'll just say a little bit to introduce this. I'm very excited that we have representatives from Pattern for Progress here tonight. This began about a little over a year ago when former Councilman Bill Hustis worked with the town's grant writer and obtained a $50,000 grant from the Local Initiatives Support Corporation. That grant has funded the work of our part-time code enforcement officer for vacant homes, aka zombie hunter Jack Kayer, and also has funded a report by the Hudson Valley Pattern for Progress. And if you're not familiar with that agency, according to their website, it's a not-for-profit policy, planning, advocacy, and research organization, and they're focused on ensuring solutions for the growth and vitality of the Hudson Valley. So our two guests tonight are Eric Pearson. Eric has a master's in city and regional planning from Rutgers, and he is a senior research planner and executive director of Main Street Hudson Valley. And Kate Stryker is also a senior research planner. She has a master's in urban planning from Hunter and also has been a science teacher with a master's in science education from NYU. So we're looking forward to hearing their recommendations about our vacant home issues. Thank you.
Is this on? Yes? No?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Well, thanks, Anne, for that introduction. And so I'll just dive right in so we don't waste any of your time here. So we're here to present mostly the recommendations from this report that we created. Generally speaking, there was two major parts of this report. The first being a windshield survey of vacant properties in the town, and the second being the recommendations. So I'm just going to touch briefly on the windshield survey, but the primary focus of tonight's presentation will be the recommendations. And if it's okay with you all, I think we'll just go through the whole thing and maybe do questions at the end. I think that might just be the easiest way to do it. Okay, so sorry, that's a little bit small on the screen, but that's a map of the results of the windshield survey. So essentially what we did, we received a list of vacant properties from the town, and we developed a set of metrics that we measured uniformly for all of them. So it was things like presence of broken windows, presence of damaged siding, damaged roof, overgrowth, things of that nature. And then went around in one day in December when there was good visibility because there's no vegetation, and did a sort of diagnostic look at the exterior of all the buildings on that list. We then took that information and added up the conditions that were there. We introduced some sort of weighting with that too to make sure that more severe problems were worth more points, if you will. And then added those up, so each property got a total overall condition score. The higher the score, the worse property condition was in. And I apologize, it's a little bit small on that screen, but the gradient is from green to red, green being the properties in the better condition, and red worse off. Just a couple quick things on the findings here. One thing that jumps out is just the number of vacant properties around the Lake Carmel area. We attribute that mostly to just the density of residential development there rather than any sort of specific condition that would have led to more vacancies there. And then the other major finding is that actually a lot of the properties, at least from the windshield survey on the exterior, are in pretty good condition. So like almost half of the properties that we looked at had either no visible property issues or one. So that's great news. So now I'm just going to dive into the recommendations. The recommendations we broke up into two categories. The first being just sort of general vacant building strategies, which I'm going to cover, and then my colleague Kate Stryker is going to cover strategies that are specific to reoccupying these vacant buildings. So our first recommendation has to do with one of the causes of vacant buildings rather than the vacant buildings themselves, and that's foreclosure. So whether that's tax foreclosure or from a bank or a lender. The good news is there's an organization called the Putnam County Housing Corporation that's active in Putnam County. They have a lot, amongst other things, they have a lot of great foreclosure prevention programming. What we're going to recommend is that the town work with them. We've spoken with Putnam County Housing Corp, and they are interested in working together to sort of amplify their message. So whether that be increasing awareness, making referrals to them of folks that you may be aware of that are heading down the road of foreclosure, and just general sharing information to amplify their existing work in the county. All right. The next recommendation is strategic code enforcement. There's no hard and fast definition of what that means, but essentially what we're talking about is a proactive approach to code enforcement that puts an emphasis on collecting data in a uniform way, establishing a data space, and then taking that information and trying to identify trends which will allow you to sort of prioritize and allocate the time and resources in a more efficient way. So what are we talking about? Like identifying potential hotspots, geographic areas in the town where there's more code violations, repeat offenders that maybe aren't that obvious if they happen to be in an LLC somewhere, but then not other places. So identifying those trends and the types of violations that you're seeing. So if there's a specific violation that keeps happening across the town, maybe that indicates that there needs to be some sort of educational campaign or outreach to try to mitigate that, things of that nature. And so a lot of these things may be already happening on a more informal basis, but what we're recommending is sort of a codifying of that and making that an official policy. All right. The next recommendation has to do with how to prioritize the vacant properties to deal with. So whether this be like a direct prioritization or just more something that's on your radar in terms of what types of properties should be addressed first. We've come up with a list of categories of types of properties that we think are worthwhile. In the interest of time, I won't go through all of them, but just looking at the first two, properties in significant disrepair. So the general idea there is go for the ones in the worst condition first, knock those out, improve the quality of the vacant properties that are out there, and then highly visible properties. So the idea behind that is to address the ones that are, on major roads, so Route 52 or 311, things that people are seeing every day as they drive through town, as opposed to potentially houses that they might be in worse condition, but they might be way back in the woods, and maybe only the neighbors would, I'm sure they would greatly appreciate it, but it would have less of a visual impact on the town. So there's a couple more, but I'm going to keep going because I know you have other things on your agenda. And our next recommendation is to form a vacant buildings committee. And believe me, I know no one likes to create committees for the sake of creating committees. But the idea behind this is to keep up the positive momentum that you all have going in dealing with the vacant buildings that you have here. So what we're proposing is some of the responsibilities that this committee could cover would be perhaps implementing some of the recommendations in this report, establishing goals and benchmarks for the town to try to hit and for the vacancy issue, help maintain and update the vacant building inventory, and then also respond to potential vacancy issues that may arise that we don't know of yet. So that's that recommendation. And then the last one I'll cover is a recommendation to help increase the compliance with the existing vacant building registry that you all have. If you all didn't have a vacant building registry, that probably would have been our primary, or one of our primary recommendations. So it's great that you guys have that. It's a really useful tool for an opportunity to collect, contact information about these vacant buildings. So basically what we're saying here is funnel more resources to something that's working. So whether that's keeping Jack on or maybe increasing it to a full-time position if possible. There's subscription services that are out there that can assist in locating hard-to-find property owners. LexisNexis is an example of one. Folks hiding behind LLCs, things of that nature. So that's sort of, this recommendation is basically to build on the Vacant Building Registry, which is a great tool that you guys have already implemented. So at this point, I'm going to invite Kate up to the microphone to cover the rest of our strategies. So let's advance that. There you go.
Hello, thank you. So the next few strategies are really about how to reoccupy and redevelop the existing vacant properties that you have. To begin with, the town sort of would need to consider these strategies pretty seriously. The ones Eric presented are sort of more low-hanging fruit, easier to do. These would require much more capacity and effort and commitment and probably financial resources as well from the town. However, if the town were to decide that it wanted to go this route, the first step would be to acquire the properties. And the purpose of acquiring the properties is it really gives the municipality control over how these properties are used. So it may be the case that you have properties that are vacant, which get acquired by speculators who sort of just hold those properties, and this is sort of a repeating cycle. We do see that in some municipalities. So in this case, the town would sort of intervene. And there's a few ways that the town could acquire the properties. The first would be properties that are in the tax foreclosure process. So specifically, the county foreclosure process. So these are properties that are tax delinquent, and the county is pushing them through this process. Eventually, they would end up at auction. The town could work with the county to acquire those properties before they go to auction. We spoke with the county about this. They said that, yes, it's a possibility. The town would need to, the county would have to pass it with their legislature before they would be able to deed the properties to the town. And then if the town were to acquire the properties, they would not be able to then hand over the title. They would actually have to the town would have to maintain title of the properties and use the properties for a town purpose. So it could be that you demolish the building and you put a park there, or maybe you need a community center or a space to park equipment or something to that nature. So that would be a strategy that would be appropriate if the town had some idea of how they would use those properties. The second would be just to actually purchase the properties at auction. So either the bank auction or the county auction. In some cases, the owner may be interested in donating the properties to the town. That's not common, but there is precedent for that occurring. Or the town could purchase them, or the final way that we would recommend the town consider acquiring properties is using what's known as the Real Property Actions and Proceeding Law, Article 19A. So this is a special proceeding to convey title of abandoned dwellings to a city, town, or village. The provisions of Article 19A can be used to address abandoned properties, which allows local governments to take title to certain types of residential abandoned real property. When they say certain types, what they mean is it cannot be owner-occupied. In order to take title, the property has to be determined to be vacant. There's a certificate of abandonment, which needs to be issued. You have to notify the parties that are involved in the property, and then it sort of goes through the court. And there's more about this in the report itself, and obviously it's available if you look at the law. So the next strategy, so let me just back up a little bit and begin. So this strategy is under the assumption that the town is committed to acquiring properties. However, the town may not have the capacity or the finances to sort of move these properties into reuse. So if the town were to acquire properties, one strategy would be to partner with a nonprofit. And backing up again, Pattern for Progress has made the assessment that the town is actually in need of more affordable housing. And we looked at the Department of Housing and Urban Development data on cost burden renters in the town, and we found that 22% of renters in the town are paying more than 30% of their income to housing, which means that they're cost burden, and actually 18% are paying more than 50% of their income to housing. So there is a need for more affordable housing in the town. And by partnering with a nonprofit with the mission to provide affordable housing, the town would sort of be, achieving two things with one purpose. So there's two nonprofits that we would suggest the town consider partnering with. The first one Eric mentioned already, which is the Putnam County Housing Corporation. And the second is Hudson River Housing. Putnam County Housing Corporation, they do a foreclosure prevention program. They manage some rental properties in the town. They do not have experience rehabbing properties, but they are interested in doing it. So we spoke with them, and they're interested in pursuing a conversation with the town if the town is interested. Hudson River Housing is, they're based in Dutchess County, but they do have properties in Orange County and Columbia County, and they're naturally sort of sharing a border with Putnam. They're also interested in serving in Putnam County. And they have a lot of experience rehabbing and developing affordable housing. So, and we spoke with them, and they are also interested if the town were interested in pursuing this. So the benefits of partnering with a nonprofit are, I sort of alluded to this earlier, but they have the experience and the professional capacity that the town would not have necessarily. They also have a track record of producing quality rehab properties and of maintaining properties to high standards. And they also have access to grants and other capital resources for the rehabilitation of properties that the town would not necessarily have access to, or some private entity would not necessarily have access to. So again, under the assumption that the town were to acquire properties, another way that the town could come up with a new use for those properties would be to write an RFP. So for those of you not familiar, a request for proposals is when the town puts together a very detailed request of the kind of development they would want to see on, and it could be for a single site or a group of sites. They would describe sort of the conditions that would have to be met by the developer, and they couldn't expect to see a higher, quality proposals in response to the RFP. And then the final recommendation, this is a little bit outside the scope of our study because the study was really focused on vacant properties within the town of Kent. However, if it's found that that this is more of a county-wide issue, we would recommend the formation of a Putnam County land bank. So in this case, the town would go to the county and propose this idea and see, if the county is interested. The reason we're suggesting a county-wide land bank is, again, it's a matter of having capacity at the town level. So land banks are not-for-profit corporations which acquire real property that is tax delinquent, tax foreclosed, vacant, or abandoned, and they put the properties back to use for the public interest. The New York State Not-for-Profit Corporation Law Article 16 permits municipalities to apply for and create land banks in their communities. There's currently 35 in New York. There's allowed to be 35, but I think there's around 23 or 24 of them. Most of them are at the county level. Some of them are regional. There are a few which are at the municipal level. So one example is the city of Newburgh has a municipal land bank. However, their vacant property is much larger than here. I think at one point they had around 800 vacant properties, but a more common, approach would be at the county level. So in Dutchess County, they have a joint land bank with the city of Poughkeepsie and Dutchess County. And the purpose of a land bank is really to minimize the negative impact of the vacant properties, controls what happens to them, expand the tax base, create new housing opportunities, and encourage investment and development for the public interest. And that concludes our recommendations, and we'd like to open it up for questions.
I have a couple of questions, if I can remember what they were. Now, I was back toward the beginning. So one of the ways that the town could acquire the property, you said, was to get it from the county before it goes on the auction. But then the land is tied up and can't be sold again, and then the town would be stuck owning it. So we couldn't get the property and try to make it so that it's residentially a house again, and then sell it to a private person and put it back on the tax rolls. Am I correct with that?
Yeah, to our understanding, that is correct. And frankly, we were actually a little bit surprised by that. We haven't been able to confirm it yet, but in other counties in the area, I don't think there's any, in some places, there's no such requirement that it can't, that if you you can't deed it over to someone else. When we originally were thinking of this idea, that's exactly what we're thinking, that, there's these properties that are in the pipeline or currently in the foreclosure process, and it might be an opportunity to approach the county and say, hey, before you put this to auction, can we work out a deal where we get this property and then potentially, work with a nonprofit or anything else really to get this back.
That kind of ties into my next question.
Yeah.
If we could get the property and work for a nonprofit, but then we're stuck with it as the owner of it, we don't want to be landlords.
Right, our understanding is that if you go that route with the county, that would not be possible. That's what they told us from the county
That's interesting.
finance office. Yeah.
All right, next question I had goes all the way to the end, to the land bank. I just read it again after you read it, and you got to clarify it a little bit more. What exactly is a land bank and what's their function and what they're doing? And I just need a little more clarification on the way you read it to me.
Okay, sure. So a land bank is a not-for-profit corporation. They exist around the country. However, following the 2008 foreclosure problems that happened, New York State took settlement money from the banks. I'm not sure how much it was. I think it was $72 million. And they basically decided this was a good way to transfer the use of those properties. So it's a non-for-profit that has special ways that it can acquire property that's been abandoned,
Okay.
and then put it back to use. And they couldn't.
So in the same context as the first question, they get a property, they rehabilitate it, they make it a residential dwelling. Can they sell it and put it back on the tax rolls? Or are they
Yes,
stuck?
yes,
They
they can sell it. Yes,
Okay.
yes, that is their purpose, and they can actually sell it. They can set criteria that the county would decide on as far as what is the public interested in. So it could be
affordable housing.
It could be affordable housing. It could be. I don't remember. There's sort of a list of suggested priorities that could be given.
Now, you briefly described the two potential non-for-profit partners, Putnam Housing Corporation. You said they really don't get into rehabilitation, but would be interesting. And I'm more familiar with that one. I've never really heard of Hudson River Housing before. Does Hudson River Housing, if they partnered with, I'm not sure how to ask that. I'm still on the same frame of question. How do we get it rehabilitated and back on the tax rolls? Is that something that they step in and do that type of thing?
Yes. So in the scenario of partnering with the nonprofit, the town would deed over the properties. So however the town would acquire them, the town would then deed it to the nonprofit. The nonprofit would be the owner of the properties in the scenario. They would pay property tax, though. That question was raised at some point. If they're a nonprofit, are they not going to pay taxes? Right. They would pay taxes. They are eligible for some state exemptions if the use of the property is affordable housing, but it would be returned to the tax roll. And they have Hudson River Housing, this is what they do. So they take vacant, it's not they also are a developer, but they do rehab of vacant properties and then they return them to use. So they have experience.
So when you say return them to use, do they retain ownership on it and use it as a rental for them? Or do they actually end up selling it to the occupant of the house in the long run?
The answer is both.
Okay.
So we actually our original idea is that the nonprofit would sell the property as an affordable home ownership opportunity. However, both nonprofits mentioned that given the tax rates, the local tax rates, it would be hard for them to serve their intended population at the cost that the long-term cost of home ownership basically would be unaffordable for the population that they serve. So they suggested a better fit would be rental housing in this case.
Yeah, and the last thing I'll just say is if you are, on this topic at least, interested, I would definitely recommend A, checking out their website, Hudson River Housing, and B, setting up a meeting with them. So as we mentioned, or Kate mentioned, we have broached this subject with them. They are preliminarily interested if the town is interested. So it's something that you want to even consider pursuing. We can facilitate setting up a meeting, and then they can tell you with much greater detail how they would operate and how you might be able to work with them.
Very good.
But they're a great organization. Yeah.
I am proud to say that looking at your first map with the dots all over it, at least 2 of them are already gone.
Yeah, we did hear that already, but yeah, so that's great. That's good.
Yeah.
You want to go? You have anything? I got a couple things really quick. On the Putnam County Land Bank, again, I think it's a great idea. The only issue is that federalism is going to get in the way. I teach economics and government at the high school level. So, I mean, I know the county could say, all right, we're going to buy up all these abandoned zombie homes, whatever we want to call them, and then turn around and they're going to set the code enforcement of it, or they're going to set the rules for it. And they might not be what we want to do, and we're basically stuck at what they're going to do. And I don't think you have the answer to the question that I was going to ask, is what is the alternative to doing that? I know we're not going to have a town of Kent land bank.
Yeah, so I mean, as Kate alluded to, our assessment is that the economies of scale for a town level land bank just wouldn't work. And then just like, because there is this state mandated cap on the amount there can be statewide, and it's already approaching that, I don't think it would be a competitive application to become a land bank. I know I'm not really sort of getting to your question. I don't.
Yeah,
have
because
the
I don't
answer.
think you have an answer for
Yeah,
it. That's okay.
I mean, we could, frankly, we can look into that and see what that might look like and get back to you. That's certainly something we can do.
And then I have 2 more things, and again, they're really not questions that you're going to be able to answer. I just wanted to let people know. A lot of the older Lake Carmel properties, they were literally 1-bedroom cottages in the 50s and 60s, and there were very few, if any, town building codes. So a lot of the properties, and one for an example is on Pleasant Road, the neighbor has asked me many times, what are they doing with that? And I said, I don't have an answer for you. I'm trying to find out. And then when I did find out, is that the lot itself is too small to build anything on there. So the only option would be that the neighbors can buy it, but because it's deeded to the original owner, there's nothing you can do about it. So again, I don't know if there was a question in there. There might not have been. But that's all I'm just bringing up, devil's advocate. Sure. And then the last issue I'm going to tell you, again, it goes back to our economics that we were talking about in class. A lot of times the banks don't want to give up their foreclosed properties. They would rather just let them sit there and they write it off as a loss. And there's no way that we can force a private entity into doing anything about it. I mean, it looks bad for them. I mean, negative publicity might be the only thing. But now, deregulation has allowed a lot of the predatory lending to come back. So it would be great to allow a lot of the renters to purchase up these homes. The bigger issue that you're going to have is if they sign on for a mortgage and a year down the road they can't pay it back, in 10 years we're going to be exactly where we are right now with the zombie homes. Again, I don't think there was a question there. I'm just making a point.
Anyone else? Ian, you good? All right. Thank you very much. I
Thanks for
appreciate you
having us
coming.
tonight. Yeah.
Oh, I absolutely appreciate it. I would love to get rid of all these homes. I mean, it's just an eyesore, and it brings down the neighbors' property values because you can't do anything with them. And a lot of times we're stuck sitting on our hands, and everybody's asking us questions about what are you doing with this, what are you doing with this? We're trying the best we can, and unfortunately, a lot of times that's just not good enough. So, but thank you guys.
There has.
Absolutely,
There has.
absolutely. And the nice part about that home on Pleasant that I was talking about, that owner that was there has passed away, and his kids don't want the property. So they're willing to give it up, but I guess there's still a mortgage on the property. So the banks don't want to give it up. Again, that's where you run into that catch-22.
Yeah, if the town, I can't mention it, but if the town were to acquire properties.
Oh, you have to get to the microphone, sorry.
If the town were to acquire properties from the county before they went to auction, we asked about the owed taxes. And the response was it would be sort of decided on a case-by-case basis. So it's not exactly to what you just mentioned, but just sort of owing money on a building. And at least in that scenario, the county might be willing to, relieve the owed taxes. It would be.
It benefits them too to get it back on the tax rolls.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Lana, can we have roll call, please?
Supervisor McGlasson,
Present.
Councilwoman Campbell,
Present.
Councilman Toupori,
Here?
Councilman Ruthven,
Here.
Councilwoman Bati,
Here.
all present.
Thank you. Okay, we're gonna go back to our public hearing for the veterans tax exemption.
We saved it just for you,
Yeah, we
Nancy.
saved it.
So nice.
We opened it last meeting. I don't know if anyone has any other comments on it. Everyone good up here?
I'm still in full support of it.
Yes, no, any public comment? I make a motion that we close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're gonna need a resolution
I know.
next meeting to
Okay.
adopt
Oh.
the local law.
Okay. We don't wanna,
I don't think we have one here today.
I thought we did.
I saw one.
Yeah.
I have it.
Resolution introducing local law.
Does someone wanna read it? Does everyone feel comfortable voting on it tonight? I do, I mean, you feel comfortable?
Yeah, we're good. I'd like to make a motion to pass a resolution introducing local law.
That's the introduction resolution.
Oh.
There's
Oh, wait,
another
hold
one
on.
to
I
adopt
think-
it.
There is?
Well, it may not be in the packet. That's what I
Okay.
suspect.
Oh, so that's what we gotta wait for
Yeah,
next
so we
meeting.
have to do that next time.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay, all right, we will hold it over then until next meeting, we'll vote on it.
Very good.
At the June 21st meeting. Alrighty. Our next item on the agenda is our Canine Contract. The police department brought up to me that our contract with the canine has not been updated in years, so they changed a few things in it. They, annually, we were giving the canine officer $5,000. Now it would be $7,207. They get paid 1 hour per day, which equals to 7 hours for every week. And they were getting $9.13 an hour, and it would be going up to the minimum wage, which is $13.20. I had Nancy look at it, I had Ben, our lawyer, look at it, and they both were in agreement that the contract was fair, so.
The $7,207 came from the
That's the
increase.
total.
And came from the increase of the
13 to
13
13.20.
to 30, okay. Just wonder where the number came from.
Any public comment? The canines work very hard. And they don't complain. I've never heard one complaint from them. They're my favorite employees.
I like you all.
All right,
So,
just,
we doing this resolution? Want to read that one?
Yeah, let me just get to it.
I'm too far in.
Thank you. I'd
Gotta
like
jump out and use
I'd
the
like to
restroom.
make a motion to pass a resolution authorizing acceptance of canine officer compensation agreement. Whereas the Town of Kent Police Department canine officers are responsible for off-duty boarding, caring, feeding, grooming, walking, and general maintenance of their assigned canines. And whereas the Town of Kent wishes to enter into agreement for the compensation of canine officers for the off-duty time spent in the care and maintenance of the canines pursuant to the terms set forth in the annexed agreement. Now therefore be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Kent hereby authorizes and approves the Canine Officer Compensation Agreement annexed herethrough and authorizes the Town Supervisor to execute the agreement. I'd like to make that motion.
Second.
I guess we have to do roll call because
Oh, yeah.
Chris got up.
Should we wait?
Oh, we don't have to.
Just do, I guess do roll call since Chris is not.
Okay. Councilwoman Campbell,
Aye.
Councilman Toupori,
Aye.
Councilwoman Bati,
Aye.
Supervisor McGlasson,
Yes, and here comes Chris, so I guess you can ask him. Yes or no for the canine agreement?
Yes.
Okay,
All right.
thank you. Okay, our next item on the agenda is an ARPA proposal for the library. I will have Councilwoman Campbell introduce this to us and
Okay. We had presented this previously, and I just want to say a little bit about it. The library has really been a mainstay through the pandemic, providing hotspots, internet access with their computers on site, and support for families. And it has become clear that they could benefit from having some additional technology available. And also, in consultation with the computer technology staff at the Carmel Central School District, worked up the proposal here for a training program that would be offered to different levels of school children and their families, because the school provides devices for the kids, but they don't necessarily know how to use them properly and safely, and sometimes the parents don't know as well. So this proposal would include some additional technology for the library, some technical support staff for people coming in who need assistance that might not have been familiar with using some of these devices in the past, and also some workshops, both for elementary grades and for middle and high school grades. Now, in general, we've been holding off on voting on ARPA proposals because we're still waiting to hear what the county is going to do at that level. But there is a benefit in acting on this sooner rather than later. It's a small fraction of the total funding we're going to have available, whatever the county does. And if we could get this moving sooner rather than later, a teacher could be hired to do the curriculum development for these workshops over the summer, which is a time that teachers often have some time available for these kinds of things. And then the programs would be ready to launch probably at the start of the fall school year. And so that's why I've encouraged our supervisor to bring this forward now, and I'm grateful that it's here on the table.
any comments?
I have a few questions. Carol, would you mind stepping up here, please?
Thank you.
Introduce yourself.
I'm Carol Donick, the director of the Kent Public Library, and want to thank you for considering this proposal.
So Carol, I think the idea of this program and getting the technology is a fantastic idea. I absolutely love it. But I do have a couple issues that I'd like to talk to you about.
Sure.
Number one is, and I talked to Ann on the side, I know where the $50 per hour for the teacher to come in came from, but I do think it's a tad bit over the top. You're not paying our library staff that much, and I would like to at least to have you try to negotiate that. I hear it's that going rate from the schools, but we're talking about an extracurricular job for them, not the school rate of pay that they're receiving from a negotiated school contract. And I think that they ought to be a little more flexible on what we would pay to have somebody come in and do this almost like a community service, but we understand they have to be compensated a little bit for it also. So that would be my first request for you on this.
I agree. I was also surprised at that rate of pay. Evidently, it's what's in the school contract, so we took it.
Are we obligated to follow the school contract for this?
I
don't think so.
Probably not. So I will negotiate. Quite honestly, that's more than we pay anyone currently working at the
Without a
library,
doubt.
including
And we
the
understand.
director.
I mean, we don't want to get into the whole discussion of the school budget and what the teachers are making, because we'll open up a whole can of
Yeah,
worms.
and I
But
don't
we're the town of
want-
Kent, we don't pay anybody that kind of money,
No.
you know? My next question goes to the program running 4 years. And again, I briefly earlier had a quick talk with Ann, and I think she came up with a fairly good solution to this. My question, and I'm going to phrase it exactly like I phrased it to Ann. What if after year one, there's no interest in this and it doesn't go any further? So my concern was giving the full $49,644 for a 4-year program, that after year one fizzles out, or year two, or year three. And I think, Ann, you can correct me if I'm wrong, your solution is kind of like a grant is divvied up, we could churn receipts in and pay it on a year-to-year basis.
We could also adjust, this came from a conversation we had with the school's IT head, And he was very clear. We were first thinking maybe the library should lend out laptops or whatever. And he said, no, the students are getting that from the school. But what they're not getting is training in how to use them. Even the very basics of security, for the younger students, even the proper way to turn it on and off and those sorts of things. So there should be a demand for this. It should be something that will make learning more effective for the students that have
We
the
could only hope
devices.
so. I agree with
Yeah,
that, but,
yeah.
giving $50,000 and with not the insurance that it might not be needed in 2 years or 3, obviously year one, we're gonna pay it because we want to see how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
But you could see that if the interest isn't there, we don't want to keep paying it.
Sure.
On that same note, and this is an off topic, the school should be training these kids. If they're giving them out the laptops, it really should be the school's responsibility. Not your problem, but I believe that the school should be teaching the kids when they're bringing them home, and my kids bring them home too. And you're right, they haven't been taught all the stuff that they need to be taught, and I'm glad that you guys are gonna offer that courses, and I think it's gonna be great for the kids out there.
I just want to point out, we're in new territory here because we have not yet administered any funding through ARPA, and we don't really know what our process and procedures are required to be and what they will be. But I think we would certainly have flexibility that this could be done on a voucher basis on a, annually, according to the demand for the program.
We would be happy to have it spread out. It would be great. What we would most like is to be able to start for this summer to have a teacher working on the curriculum so it's ready to go in September. And also we had asked for some money at much less, at $17 an hour, for someone to come in regularly and help the public with their technical questions. More people are working from home these days. More things have to be done online. We have elderly patrons coming in saying that they have to file for Social Security or check their Social Security records online. They don't know how to do it. We at least have a computer that they can use, but it would be great to have someone who could specialize in helping with those kinds of questions.
No, I had no issue with the first half of your proposal for that type of thing. It was more about the school teacher and the length of basically the contract we'd be into for the 4-year contract. They were my two main concerns.
Right, and it would be great to spread it out if that's your preference.
I just have a follow-up question. Are we tied to having a teacher come in and do it?
No, what we could do is advertise that we want someone to develop this curriculum. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ann, or if you...
Yeah, because if we just go to like an IT specialist, they would be able to basically do all that anyway.
If they have the teaching ability, too. There's some IT specialists who wouldn't be comfortable with a group of 8-year-olds.
Right, but if we were to announce that and broadcast that out and say, here is your job description, we're looking for someone, and we'll say this is our rate of pay, so that we're not tied to the district contract or the teacher's contract.
Yeah, Ann, do you agree that we could have that flexibility? What are your thoughts?
I don't see any problem with that. Did you already have somebody in mind as you've started to think about this proposal, or would we be starting from scratch to find somebody?
I think we'd be starting from scratch. I know one person with education experience and a lot of IT experience who's currently not living locally but is coming back in July. So I want to talk with him, but that's just one person that I would want to talk to.
But that's fine. I have no issue with that. We can just say, listen, here is the job parameters. We're only going to offer you X amount of dollars per hour. Are you willing to do it? If they say no, say, all right, well, thank you, but no thank you. No, we're not tied to the school's contract, as Chris said.
Yeah, quite
But you
honestly.
could advertise. You advertise for positions or,
Sure.
we can put it out there.
Yeah, I would see this as being an independent contractor as opposed to an employee, but certainly you can advertise for an independent contractor.
Well, Does that open up another can of worms if it's a independent contractor? Do they have to have like their own business or anything like that to come in as an independent contractor?
No, not at all.
They would
No?
get paid by voucher or whatever, and it would be like, I think that would be
With
fine.
all the tax ramifications that go with being an independent contractor?
Well, I guess that's the other question is, are they subcontracting then via the library, and then the town is just supplying the funds to the library according to the voucher? So it would go under whatever policies the library has for hiring contractors.
We frequently hire people to present programs, and we hire somebody who's an expert on a certain subject, and they present the program, and we pay them a set fee.
A set fee?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think we're okay there. So I guess the only question is, how do we proceed from here? If we have an updated proposal with a different figure for the salary for the curriculum development and presentation, then perhaps we could deal with it at the next meeting?
Yes.
This is my suggestion. Can we do a straw poll down through here on who's in favor of this with the adjustments? That gives you the opportunity to actually go out and start looking for somebody, because what I worry about is the timeline. You want to get this going by September. We're already, for all intents and purposes, halfway through June. You don't have a whole lot of time to set your curriculum and get this set up. So I want to give you as much possible time to go. I know I'm in favor of it, with, you know, looking to get the best you can for the town of Kent with the ARPA funding here, which I think you're going to do. I think you got a pretty good understanding of where I was coming from on that stuff. In the meantime, that gives us 2 weeks to look at how we're going to distribute ARPA money, because we really don't know on how that's going to
Right,
work.
we have to go through Yulia.
And gives us a little time to get the resolution put together in the background of how we can do it before we vote on it. But I think you got enough positive response from our board tonight that you could actually get your ball rolling on your end of things, with the understanding that we're going to approve it once we get all the paperwork in order.
Thank you. So what I'll do is I'll work with Ann on adjusting the proposal in line of the comments from tonight and present it to you. I'm sorry, I won't be able to attend your meeting
That's
in
fine.
2 weeks, but I can give you something in writing at that point.
Wonderful.
Would
That'd be
would
great.
that be
Great.
okay?
Well, needless to say, I'm 100% behind this.
Thank
I am too, as I said. And I will tell you, a pro for having a teacher in there, and Chief Owens could back this up, is that they have to be fingerprinted, they have to be cleared. Obviously, they're going to be working with children, so we don't just want anybody coming off the street going into the library. You know, and that is the bigger concern, as Councilman Ruthman came up with. $50 an hour is a lot of money.
Yes.
You know, and who knows, again, if this is going to be available in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. And then once the ARPA funding runs out, or is this something we're going to want to keep? I would say probably, and then we got to worry about how we're going to pay that and fund that in the future.
Although I have to say, Jerome, I had the impression from the IT expert at the school district that there is a hope that they will be transitioning into doing more of this kind of programming in the schools in
So
the
it would just
future.
be, it would be something that's in that little time frame for
Right.
us, and then it will transition.
And so
Okay.
one of the benefits here is developing this program may end up being sort of a pilot or a model for what they will ultimately do in the schools, which is great.
That's
And then we can
fantastic.
go into educational services and make a boatload of money on the side.
All right. Any public comment on this? No? Okay.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Carol.
Thank you so much, Carol.
Have a nice night.
Thank you, you too.
Okay. Our next item is the Lake Tibet hydro raking. I know Vivian is here from Lake Tibet. Do you want to come up and speak about this, or?
We want to know the full
Yeah,
scientific
tell us.
version of hydro raking, right down to the molecules.
I should have brought a video of what they did last year. We have hydro rake 2 years now, and I do the sampling for C-SLAP, and I was out there yesterday, sorry about that. I was out there yesterday pulling in the samples, and I can say it was finally one time I could paddle without pulling up all sorts of stuff onto my oars. So it has proved somewhat successful so far. We've put the application in with the DEC, and knock wood, today was the last day for the response to the ad that we had to run about whether it could go through. So we're kind of in double need, because we want to get the herbicide put in and be able to muck up what drops down afterwards. So we really need the hydro raking. We found it successful so far. We're on a 3-year permit, so this would be the last year for right now. And hopefully going forward, we won't have to hydro rake. We'll be able to use herbicides, but we'll keep it under control.
Just to refresh my memory, this is the 3rd year you've been doing it, or did you do it on a cycle before that?
No, it's just that I've only been there 5 years. So 2 years ago, we got one company in. They seem to have gone bust. We got another company last year, Solitude, which is going around and buying up everything and every business that deals with lakes these days. They came in last year. They did a really great job. And unfortunately, they got in very late between COVID and having people down and all of that. They didn't get in until early October. So we're really desperate to try to get things done a little earlier this year so our residents can enjoy the lake a bit.
Fantastic.
during
And you
the
went out
season.
and you tried to get the 3 quotes, but we weren't,
Yes,
so.
it's like nothing now. It's really true. Solitude is buying up like every single company that does any of this business. And it's, and I should note that I still think one of the things that we do that is extremely important is something I know I insisted on before I would do anything with the lake, is we need a professional. And we have used Northeast Aquatic Research as the people that assess the lake, do some testing on the lake, do drone surveys of the lake. So we have a consultant who's actually able to advise us, and this is something that's advised by the consultant.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Thank you, Vivian.
Thank you.
All right. Is there any public comment? Any board comment? Okay.
Somebody
Does
gonna read
someone want to read the proposal?
Yeah, I'll do it.
Okay.
Make a resolution to adopt the proposal for Lake Tibet hydro raking. Whereas the town board of the town of Kent has been advised there is a need for hydro raking of Lake Tibet, Park District Number 2. And whereas, in accordance with the town's procurement policy, the town requested 3 proposals from companies which provide this specialized service and received 1 proposal, a copy of which is annexed here to and incorporated herein by reference. And whereas Solitude Lake Management has submitted the sole and therefore lowest proposal in the total amount of $12,000, and whereas the town board of the town of Kent wishes to accept the proposal submitted by Solitude Lake Management, now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Kent hereby approves the hydro raking of Lake Tibet by Solitude Lake Management for the price set forth on the proposal annexed hereto in the amount of $12,000. And be it further resolved that the town supervisor is hereby authorized and directed to execute any and all agreements and other documents necessary to give effect to this resolution. I hereby make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Our next item is a code enforcement violation to correct it. This is a repeat offender.
236 Lakeshore.
Yep. So it needs to be trimmed and cleaned up. We attempted to get 3 bids, we only received 1, JB Affordable Lawn Care, for a cost of $225. So I just asked that the board approve that so we can remedy this violation. You can't see in your pictures.
I know, someday you're gonna give
I'll
us
show you.
color
Look,
pictures,
look.
because all we get's a black blob to look
I get the
at.
good,
It's like my
I get the
cousin
good
Betty, remember,
pictures.
with the screens.
Sorry.
I get the good ones.
I mean, look at that. Yeah, it looks
Look how
great.
bad it looks. Look at it.
Show him yours, show him.
All right, I know.
That's what it looks like at night.
That's it. See? That's what it looks like.
It's beautiful.
You saved ink.
Does someone want to read the?
I'll do it.
Okay.
I make a motion to adopt a resolution authorizing correction of violation and acceptance of proposal and charge to property owner at 236 Lakeshore Drive East. Whereas the code enforcement officer of the town of Kent issued an order to remedy a violation dated May 10th, 2022, parentheses, the order to remedy, directing the owner to remove rubbish, grass, and overgrowth from the exterior of the property identified as 236 Lakeshore Drive East, parentheses, the property, And whereas the order to remedy directs the owner to correct the violation or respond to the code enforcement office within 10 days, and to date, the owner of the property has not responded or corrected the violations. And whereas pursuant to Chapter 55A of the Town Code of the Town of Kent regarding property maintenance, upon the failure of any owner to comply, the building inspector is authorized to correct a violation subject to the approval of the town board, and the town board wishes to authorize the building inspector to correct the violation. And whereas, consistent with the town's procurement policy, the town of Kent requested 3 written proposals from contractors to correct the violation on the property, and received 1 proposal in response, with the sole proposal being from JB Affordable Lawn Care in the amount of $225. A copy of said proposal is annexed hereto and incorporated by reference. And now therefore be it resolved, the town board of the town of Kent hereby accepts the bid of JB Affordable Lawn Care for the correction of the violation at a cost not to exceed $225. And further resolved that the actual date of the correction of the violation plus the accrued legal rate of interest from the date of completion of the work shall be charged to the property owner by the town in accordance with Chapter 55A-12, parenthesis B. I make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay. Our next item is from the planning board. They would like us to refund the remaining balance of an escrow account in the amount of $250. It was unanimous decision, and they're just asking us to approve the check back.
I'll do it. I'd like to make a motion to pass a resolution authorizing a release of the escrow account, whereas the owner of a parcel of land at 208 Route 52, Kent, New York, identified as tax map number 44.9-2-23, the lot has submitted a request to the planning board that the remaining escrow fees for approval of signs in the amount of $250 be released to the owner, and whereas the planning board at their meeting held on April 14th, 2022, adopted resolution number 7 approving the signs, and by email dated May 24th, 2022, Vera Patterson informed the town of the applicant's request for the return of the balance of the escrow account. Now therefore be it resolved, the town board of the town of Kent hereby authorizes the release of the remaining escrow fees in the amount of $250 to the owner. I make this motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Our next item is our Lake Carmel Parks. We have a bunch of items for that. Our first one is Frank Sabatini, our Park District Crew Chief, would like to hire Salvatore A. Lagana Jr. for a rate of pay for $13.20 for, to help out around as a seasonal worker for Lake Carmel Park District. Any questions? Everyone's good?
Yep.
Okay.
Is he returning, or is he a new hire?
He's a new hire.
Okay,
I can read it.
go ahead.
I'd like to make a I'd like to make a motion to pass a resolution to hire a seasonal worker at Lake Carmel Park District. Whereas the Lake Carmel Park District is seeking to fill a seasonal position, and whereas by email dated May 31st, 2022, the Lake Carmel Park District Clerk informed the town board that Frank Sabatini, the Lake Carmel Park District Crew Chief, has recommended hiring Salvatore Alagana Jr. at a pay rate of $13.20 an hour to fill the position. And whereas the town board believes it to be in the best interest of the town to accept the crew chief's recommendations. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Kent hereby authorizes the hiring of Salvatore A. Lagana Jr. as a seasonal worker for the Lake Carmel Park District at a pay rate of $13.20 an hour. And be it further resolved that the town board of the town of Kent hereby authorizes the supervisor to execute any and all documents necessary to give the effect to this resolution. I'd like to make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Our next item is very exciting. This, we are going to approve our lifeguard hires. And I have 17 names on my list for lifeguards. So now this is pending. They're currently getting their lifeguard certification down at Lake Carmel. So it's pending them passing some of them. Some of them, 6 of them have it and they're good to go. 10 of them are getting it in a final interview, but it looks like we have a good amount of lifeguards this year. So
Wonderful. Good job,
I am
guys.
very happy about
Well
that.
done.
It was not easy.
I gotta tell you, right before tonight's meeting, and I'm gonna abstain from this vote because my daughter is one of them that applied, but I had to bring her down for the lifeguard, the first part of the test today, the swimming test. I saw Bobby drive by, he beeped at me. But it's not easy. They had to swim the length of a football field up and down 3 times out there, and they did it. Every single one of them made it through it. So it was very, very impressive. I wouldn't have made it one way up. They would have been pulling me into the boat and dragging me back to shore. Very impressive, and very, very happy to see that our extra hard push to get lifeguards to apply this year really, really did work. With the signs and the public, media that we did, the Facebook and however else we did it, it made a big difference from the last couple of years where we were begging to get lifeguards to apply. We really had a nice turnout this year, and I hope they all pass. They all looked like they did a great job today. From what I see, I had to leave. My wife showed up and I left, so I hope they all made it through it.
Well, I would like us to read the resolution so we can hire them. We're going to hire them all tonight pending them passing. Because when the test is over, it's only a few days after that when the lake's open, so it's our best idea to hire them all now.
Are we closed to hiring additional lifeguards if they go get their own
Oh,
certification?
no, we'll
like from
hire
Red
them, keep
Cross?
applying.
Okay, that's fine.
Take as many as we can get.
I'll read it.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I make a motion to adopt the resolution to hire Lake Carmel Park District lifeguards. Whereas the town of Kent is seeking to fill summer positions for head guards and lifeguards in the Carmel Park District LCPD, and whereas the town board is in receipt of a list from Jim Garbarino, lifeguard supervisor, recommending the hiring of a head guard and lifeguards for the 2022 season. A copy of said list is annexed hereto and incorporated herein by reference. And whereas the town board desires to accept the recommendations of Mr. Garbarino and hire the head guard and lifeguards on the annexed list at a rate of pay indicated on the attached list. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Kent hereby authorizes the hiring described in the annexed list at the rate of pay provided for the LCPD for the 2022 season. And be it further resolved that the town board of the town of Kent hereby authorizes the supervisor to execute any and all documents necessary to give effect to this resolution. I hereby make the motion.
Second.
Second, oh, sorry.
I think they were all
All in
sleeping.
favor?
Aye.
All right.
Roll call vote.
Wait, I think also, let me just tell everyone, so the head guard is getting paid $16 an hour, returning lifeguards are making $14.25 an hour, and new lifeguards that are starting this year that have not lifeguarded for us before are getting $14 an hour, just so everyone knows. Okay, roll call, please.
Councilwoman Campbell,
Aye.
Councilman Tompori,
Aye.
Councilman Ruthven,
Abstain.
Councilwoman Batti,
Aye.
Supervisor McGlasson,
Yes.
motion carried.
I think you could have voted.
No.
No?
Nope.
We'll take her off the list and we'll put her separate.
Okay.
Okay. Our next item is an agreement between us and the United States Department of Agriculture. I will let Councilman Ruthven.
All right, so
Discuss this.
we vetted this out last year with some public presentations and stuff regarding the culling of Canada geese on Lake Carmel. We did a poll survey of the public. It was overwhelmingly in support of it in Lake Carmel. There were a few people against it. I think in the long run, we found out a few that were against it didn't even live in the town of Kent, but they just sent their opinions in anyway. So this year, I reached back out to them again to get a copy of the contract. There was a few issues last year, and we were running out of time, but we are right on time this year. I have spoken with our attorney about a few issues we had. We feel that because they work with other municipalities around the state, that we are in good shape to move forward and pursue this. Now, this does not mean that they are going to come in and do anything. It does mean that we're going to have a contract for them to come in and do the initial look at it. And if they feel that we have the numbers that would require them to come in and do something, they'll move forward and do it. So right now, this just gets the ball rolling. Actually, it's the full contract, but it's really in their court. When they come down and do their initial survey, they will make the decision whether to move forward or not. And that's about it.
All right.
I feel we really vetted it out last year. I don't think we're reinventing the wheel on this one. It's a matter of moving forward with it.
Okay, any comments from the board?
No.
Any public comment? No? Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to approve a resolution approving the intergovernmental agreement between the Town of Kent, New York and the United States Department of Agricultural, Animal and Plant Health Inspection Service, Wildlife Services. Whereas the Town of Kent is in receipt of a proposed agreement whereby the United States Department of Agricultural, Animal and Plant Health Inspection Service, APHIS, Wildlife Service, WS, will capture and remove Canada geese from the Lake Carmel, Kent, New York for the price of $6.75 per goose and an anticipated overall cost of $3,282.25. And whereas Canada geese are a threat to human health and safety, and as such, the Town Board of the Town of Kent has determined that the agreement is in the best interests of the town and desires to enter into the agreement. Now therefore be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Kent hereby approves the agreement with the United States Department of Agriculture, Animal, Plant Health Inspection Service, Wildlife Services in the form annexed hereto, and be it further resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Kent hereby authorizes the supervisor to execute any and all documents necessary to give effect to this resolution. I make this motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Just on a side note, there is a little bit of time constraint. We gotta get that right out to them as quick as possible.
Okay. I will sign it tomorrow and send it over.
Thank you.
Let me just write that. Okay. Our next item is beach sand. We need more sand on the beaches. Heidi Link, our Lake Carmel Park District clerk, attempted to get 3 bids. We only got 2. The third company did not respond. And the best cost was for 70 yards of sand with delivery is for MJB Enterprise LLC for an amount of $3,010. So I'm asking the board to approve it. We need the sand on the beaches.
I'm in full favor.
Yes, it is.
No, it's Cowgirl.
I could read it.
Go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt a resolution accepting a quote for beach sand. Whereas the Lake Carmel Park District clerk has advised the town board that there is needed for a purchase beach sand within the Lake Carmel Park District, and whereas in accordance with the town's procurement policy, the LCPD clerk requested quotes for 70 yards of sand which delivery and received 2 quotes in response to such request, a summary of which is annexed herethrough and incorporated herein by reference, and whereas MJB Enterprises LLC has submitted the lowest quote in the amount of $3,010. And whereas the Town of Kent wishes to accept the quote of MJB Enterprises LLC, now therefore be it resolved that the Town Board of the Town of Kent hereby accepts the quote of MJB Enterprises LLC for 70 yards of sand delivered for the price of $3,010. I'd like to make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Our next item is destruction of computers and other equipment. As many of you know, Saturday we have our e-waste day, and I can't think of a better time than to get rid of all the equipment hanging around Town Hall that we no longer need. So we have a list of desktops, hard drives, everything that needs to be, that we would like to put out for e-waste day.
This is all stuff that's obsolete and we're not
Obviously,
using.
it's done, we can't use it, it's all broken, and
Okay.
it's just hanging around.
I can read.
Okay.
I make a motion to adopt a resolution authorizing destruction of computers and other equipment. Whereas the town board received a letter dated June 2nd, 2022 from Richard Harris, IT consultant, recommending that the town have the hard drives deleted and destroyed and other items recycled from a number of computers and other equipment from various town departments, as outlined on the letter annexed hereto. And whereas the town board wishes to accept the recommendation and authorize the IT consultant to cause the destruction and recycling of the computers and other equipment, and now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Kent hereby authorizes its IT consultant to cause the destruction and recycling of the computers and other equipment. And be it further resolved that the town supervisor is hereby authorized and directed to execute any and all agreements and other documents necessary to give effect to this resolution, consistent with the terms hereof, all in form satisfactory to the supervisor and the town attorney. I make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Our next item, I will turn over to Councilwoman Campbell about grant opportunities.
Oh, and I did not print that list, so I'll have to kind of wing it here. There are 2 grant opportunities I had emailed information about, but I guess we don't have a resolution. One of them is a Climate Smart grant from DEC that would pay 50% of planning costs for safe transportation. And we had already authorized to have a plan for safe streets for walking and cycling be developed so that we could seek a larger grant. And so going after half of the cost of that planning would be beneficial to us. The other grant is a sustainability planning grant. And that might be something people aren't familiar with, but in a way it's a component of a master plan update to start to look at what we have to do to ensure that the town's infrastructure can withstand changes in the climate, and overall that we're planning for an energy efficient and sustainable future. So that would be another, I believe, DEC grant opportunity with a 20% match. And now that means the town would be committed in some way to provide the match. Some of that could be volunteers, because chances are we would have a large committee that would be working in consultation with a contractor, a firm that does these kinds of plans, to develop this plan. But probably a certain amount of that would have to be a town match. Now, if we vote to pursue this, it doesn't mean we have to accept the grant in the end. So I'd like to recommend that we go ahead and vote to pursue it, with the understanding that once we work out the details, if there is going to have to be a financial commitment on the part of the town, that would have to go into the budget in the fall. And if that does not work out to go into the 2023 budget, then we would not accept the grant if we were awarded it. So those are the terms on which I would propose that. So we don't have anything written up, but
I'll make it up.
if you'd like, I could just go ahead and, I move that we go ahead and pursue those 2 grants through the town's firm Millennium.
Yeah. Do you want a resolution on it?
Is that it?
We can do it by motion.
We can do it by motion.
That's fine.
That's
Just need
fine.
a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Okay.
Great, we'll see where we can go with these. Thank you.
Vouchers? You're up.
Okay. I ask the board to approve the following vouchers that were over the threshold for June 7th, 2022. Axon Enterprise Incorporated, $51,068.75 for officer safety plan lease equipment. Semco, $3,697.60 for Water District Number 1. City Carting, $7,127.34 for Lake Carmel Garbage, $6,860.66 for Lake Carmel Garbage, $7,243.57 for Lake Carmel Garbage, $7,667.43 for Lake Carmel Garbage. F.I. Adams Incorporated, $29,500 for rock drilling and hammering. First Person Sports, $3,305 for laser tag. Global Montello Group, $6,608.91 for fuel. Hogan and Rossi, $5,416.63 for legal services for June. Insight Engineering, $2,250 for the Lake Carmel Dam project, and another $2,700 for the Lake Carmel Dam. KL Maudlin Incorporated, $2,773.72 for baseball clay. Labella Associates, $2,250 for the Municipal Center facilities evaluation. Magna 5 MS, $3,748.95 for network services. Medicare reimbursements, $31,536.30 for their second quarter payment. New York State Department of Civil Service, $224,552.80 for health insurance from May. Excuse me. That was a big number. It took my breath away. Oh, here's another one. $223,716.65 for health insurance for June. I feel like I got a cough again. NYSEG, $3,740.76 for electric for town hall, $6,110 for $76 for installation of a pole. Northeast Sweepers and Rentals, $29,492 for sweeper rental. Peckham Industries, $26,973.60 for blacktop. Spain Agency, $78,211.29 for the insurance installment. I make a motion to approve these vouchers as read.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. I have a few announcements.
Can I go, before you do the
I'm
public
sorry.
announcements, I just want to let everybody know, if we didn't hear already, that the fishing dock that was torn out by Hurricane Ida is no longer in its original location. It will go back to its original location someday when we get the abutment fixed, but it has been moved over by Arts on the Lake to Beach 6, and I want to thank Frank Sabatini and his crew, because they're the ones that actually measured it and realized it would fit over there temporarily so that the fishermen would have a place to go out and go fishing. They did a great job. They called us. They said, hey, we got an idea. We're not 100% sure it'll work. We'll let you know. And they measured it, and they figured out it would work, and they got it over there, and it looks really, really
Yeah, it
good.
looks
So
really
I
good
hope
out there.
everybody enjoys it for the upcoming fishing derby.
Okay.
Thank you, Frank and the guys.
I have another one along those lines. We've been working on what's known as a greenhouse gas inventory. This is part of our work towards Climate Smart certification. We had attained a small grant to have some college students work on this with some faculty, but it requires a lot of data that we needed to get from the town, and we've been working on this, and I have to say how impressed I am with every single request that I have made, and there have been many. I've gotten responses like that, and even helpful suggestions from the people who are getting us the data from all different branches of town government. I am just blown away. What a wonderful group of people with whom we work. So thank you, everybody.
Okay, my turn now?
Yep.
All right, the last time you have to hear about it. This Saturday, June 11th, from 9 to 12 is E-Waste Day. We are partnering with the town of Carmel. Anything with a plug can be dropped off. All you have to do is show your driver's license for proof of residency. It'll be a drive-through event. It's really simple. You just pull in, come around, we unload your car, and you drive back out, so. Whatever you want to bring. It's just air conditioners that there's a requirement. So whatever it is, as long as it has a plug, you can bring it to me.
And Supervisor McGlasson will be unloading.
I will
That's
be
what I was
there.
saying, Kathy, that determines if she unloads it or you unload it.
Now, I believe they're trying to avoid having really large appliances because the container may fill up quickly, and I think especially since we're sharing with Carmel and we're not sure what the load is going to be, you know, if it's
We can
something
always,
giant, leave it at home.
we can always get,
Yeah.
bring it. We can always get another, if we have leftover that doesn't fit, we can get another truck to come down on Monday. So it's not, it's not like, you know,
Bring it all.
I'm gonna have to bring it back to you if it doesn't fit in the truck, so.
It might not be yours that we bring back.
Yeah, I might bring you something. Okay, so we have that. Then on Saturday, we also have the garden tour, 10 to 4. Proceeds benefit the Putnam County Children's Committee and the Garden Club Civic Plantings. Hoping for sun, sorry, but rain or shine, plan to attend. Presented by the Brewster Carmel Garden Club. More information, brewstercarmelgardenclub.org. We have on June 25th, the same day as our fireworks, the fishing derby at Lake Carmel. Registration begins at 8:30 at Beach 4, 3 age divisions. There will be trophies, raffles, and snacks for the kids. So, and then I have one more. Let me just pull it up on my phone because I don't have the brochure. On June 18th, they are having a bicycle safety rodeo put on by the Kent Police Department. So like I said, Saturday, June 18th from 11 to 2. It says fun for children ages 5 to 12. Bring your bicycle, ride the skills course, free helmet and helmet fittings for every participant, bicycle safety education, and ride with the Kent Police. So hopefully we'll see everyone on Saturday, June 18th for the bicycle safety rodeo. And that is all I have.
And I just have a couple. To piggyback on what Supervisor McGlasson said, we are actively still seeking fireworks donations on the 25th. We are in partnership with Dave Radovich from Radovich and Dean and Theater in the Barn, a 501c3 nonprofit, so any donations are tax deductible. Supervisor McGlasson is going to have her office print out letters, donation letters, and place them in the town hall and also at Kent Police Department and the library tomorrow, so we can keep moving along with that. And then with and it seems like June 11th is a very busy day. There is a statue dedication of Sachem Chief Daniel Ninham at 11 a.m. on June 11th at the intersections of Route 52 and Route 82 in East Fishkill, New York. The statue was done by Michael, hope I pronounce his name correctly, Karopian, is that correct? Karopian. Okay. And Councilwoman Ann Campbell will be representing the town of Kent. All are welcome to attend, and my last announcement is let's go Rangers. And we're almost done in time, so I don't miss a bunch of the first period.
Any public comment?
Last month, there was a discussion of shared services with the highway. I know you told them to go back to the drawing board, but I just want the town board to know I handed in 44 signatures from taxpayers and residents of Lake Carmel Park District and/or Lake Carmel Sanitation that are against any shared services with the highway department. And on the highway department, I'd like to know what the town does get benefit out of some of the shared services, like with the county or the state, because I hear like our equipment goes out. What do we get in return? And I was just wondering if you could find that out from him.
I can tell you some. I mean, obviously, this is really a question for the highway superintendent.
He's usually here.
He usually is. So, on the Kent side of things, which I think benefits better from the shared services, in my opinion, they've been loaning them their excavator. He's been putting in a new building over there. They've loaned it a few times. When they did the addition on the Kent Highway garage, they used the county's tradesmen to come in and do the plumbing and the electrical and that type of stuff over there. And, you know, they swap and share equipment all the time. I don't get into the details
I know,
of it.
but I hear one part of the story, so as a taxpayer, I get concerned when I hear that they're paving down, you know, at the golf course. 2 years ago, they paved it, and just recently, they paved their path around the golf course. So I get a
Right.
little,
So if you look at the value in that, and we do look at that and adjust it, we
Okay.
figured that the use of the excavator was about $20,000 rental that it came over to the highway department.
Okay.
And in return, they came for about a day and paved for the county. No material, just the equipment and some trucks driving.
okay. All right, it's just, you know, it's concerning.
But
And-
that's what an intermunicipal agreement is, and the county has them with the town of Carmel. It has it with a lot of the towns and everything.
Yeah, I understand, but
for
when you
shared
just see trucks in a place and they're doing things, you're wondering, you know, he reports a lot of things on the website, which is good.
Yeah.
But it'd be nice to say, the shared services are working because we've done this. you
Yeah,
know?
well, and he's very vocal about what the county has done to support him on some of his projects also. I don't, you know me, I'm not on the website. I don't know what's on there or what he's
Yeah,
posting, but it goes both ways.
And
It
another,
really does.
another, I don't know if it's a concern, but our potholes haven't been touched in all of Lake Carmel. I've been driving around. But Hillendale and Sedgwick Club were taken care of. And 2 private communities should have come at the end of the list of the town. Just something I feel that you should know.
They are working on them, though. They're around town doing it.
Okay, but those are private communities. They
that's-
come last.
I hear you.
Thank
You're
you.
talking to an elected board, not the elected highway superintendent.
I'm just, you control his budget, so I'm just letting you
But that's
be
all we
aware of it.
control, so I think these are questions that we need to have Richie here maybe on the 21st, and then...
That would be great, and I'll ask it again.
Yep.
And I'm sure he'll come up with a story.
So,
Sue Kotzer, Kent Cliffs. You read off the voucher for the sweeper for $29,000. Does that mean it's
Rental
finished?
for the street sweeper, yes.
Is it finished, the street sweeping?
I don't think it's finished yet.
I passed it just
Yeah.
It wasn't, maybe Friday I passed it somewhere sweeping over on, I
So
don't
it's
think it's
still
done.
around?
It's still sweeping.
It
sweeping?
was sweeping
Okay.
today.
Pardon?
I heard it sweeping today.
Okay, all right, just wondering. Also, the mining rule, is that being worked on? I haven't heard
Yes.
anything about it, neither at the planning board or here. So
All right,
it is being worked on?
yes.
Okay, that's all I need to know. Thank you.
Okay. I'll tell you exactly where it's at right now.
Okay.
And I wasn't prepared to do it at the workshop you were at the other night because I hadn't talked to the consultants yet. But our version, which we want to see move forward, us being the town board right now,
Yes.
has been given back to the consultants to be put into a very more professional form.
Okay.
At which time we will meet again with the planning board for one more review of it. See if they have any more input on it at that point for any minor changes that we hope to make to it, and get it into a public hearing so we can start to discuss it at that point. We are on a time constraint. We know we want to have this wrapped up before, I think, September 4th, or yeah, whatever, September 1st or September 4th.
we'll just go with
The
September 1st.
consultants know the time frame. They know when it has to be back to us again and what our dates that we are looking to hit to move this thing forward are.
Okay,
Okay?
all right, thank you, Chris.
Anyone else? I'm sorry, Jorma, but I make a motion that we adjourn to executive session.
Second.
All in favor?
Bye.
Have a nice night, everyone. Hopefully I'll see everyone on Saturday at E-Waste Day.
Stubborn.